In the previous chapter, we discussed the use of an alambana, a suitable object of meditation on which you concentrate your attention. Of all the alambanas commonly used for meditation, mantras are perhaps used more extensively than any other. Mantras are sacred invocations, usually in the ancient Sanskrit language, that are repeated mentally for meditation. The word japa means recitation or repetition. Mantra japa is one of the most widely used meditation techniques, probably because it's extremely powerful, and yet it's quite simple to practice. The meaning of the word mantra, derived from its syllables man and tra, is a tool or instrument for the mind. Mantras are mental devices for focusing your attention. The purpose of focusing your attention on a mantra or any other object of meditation is to reach dhyana, the seventh of the 8 limbs or angas of yoga defined by Patanjali. Dhyana simply means meditation. According to Patanjali, dhyana is the result of practicing dharana, concentration, which we discussed in the previous chapter. Dhyana prepares you for the final limb, samadhi, absorption. Patanjali defines dhyana as pratyayika tanata, a continual stream of identical thoughts, tatra, on that, on the alambana, which means a stream of thoughts directed towards the object of meditation. Dhyana is a series of identical thoughts, or vrittis, an unbroken flow that's not interrupted by extraneous thoughts. When practicing mantra japa, dhyana is a state in which your attention is focused on the mantra alone, without any distractions whatsoever. Another definition of dhyana used by traditional teachers is sajatiya vritti pravaha, literally a current or flow of identical vrittis or thoughts. They describe the state using a striking metaphor. Suppose you pour cooking oil from a vessel. If you pour it slowly and steadily, it will form a delicate ribbon of oil that appears to be motionless, like a solid band of liquid suspended in space. Even though the oil inside the ribbon is constantly moving, the ribbon itself seems perfectly still. This example is used to describe the state of dhyana. When a perfectly steady stream of identical thoughts flows in your mind, you'll ironically experience it as a state of stillness. For example, while practicing mantra japa, if each mantra is followed by an identical mantra, without any deviation or interruption, you'll feel a sense of deep silence. It's a wonderful feeling. In meditation workshops, I'm often asked, which mantra is best? If one particular mantra was truly more powerful and effective than any other, this question could be easily answered. But the fact is, there's no such thing as a best mantra. On the other hand, there are Vedic mantras, and mantras from other ancient scriptures, like the Puranas. There are short mantras and long mantras. There are mantras that incorporate sacred sound symbols, and mantras that invoke God with thousands of different names. None of these mantras can be considered best. yet each has its unique qualities. To help us explore the relative merits of all these mantras, let's return to the elephant story I told in the last chapter. In that story, a Mahot leads his elephant to a rural construction site where it'll help move heavy trees and boulders. On the way, they have to pass through a bazaar filled with stalls overflowing with various fruits and vegetables being sold. The Mahot wants to prevent the elephant from reaching out with its trunk to grab a bunch of bananas. So, before they even reach the bazaar, he gives the elephant a stick to grasp with its trunk. The elephant obediently holds on to the stick, and this clever trick prevents it from grabbing any bananas. Like the Mahot gives his elephant a stick to grasp, in the practice of mantra japa, you give your mind a mantra to repeat, and that prevents your mind from wandering. Now, based on this analogy, asking which mantra is best for meditation is like asking what kind of stick is best for the elephant. Should the Mahot give it an elegantly carved piece of sandalwood? Or a costly silver-plated stick? In fact, neither of those would restrain the elephant's trunk any better than an ordinary stick picked up from the roadside. The elephant doesn't really care about what kind of stick it's given. It has no preference. The Mahot, on the other hand, would certainly prefer a silver-plated stick rather than an ordinary stick, or even one of carved sandalwood. The Mahot's preference for one stick over another represents our preference for one mantra over another. In principle, any mantra will work just fine. Yet, we're naturally inclined to choose a mantra we think is best or most valuable. That's really significant because the more valuable we perceive something to be, the more tightly we'll hold on to it. An ordinary scrap of paper will quickly be thrown away, but not a $100 bill. For this reason, a mantra you consider valuable will hold your attention better than one you consider ordinary. So, a mantra's effectiveness depends, in part, on how valuable you think it is. But what is it that truly determines a mantra's value? Every traditional mantra possesses Shakti, an inherent power or capacity that we'll discuss shortly. But what if you lack the knowledge needed to evaluate and appreciate the Shakti of a particular mantra? Its value isn't obvious. It has to be discovered. For example, a dilapidated old chair might look like a useless piece of junk to you, but someone who's an expert in antique furniture might know that it's worth several $100s. So, to misquote an old saying, value is in the eye of the beholder. This principle is clearly shown by a traditional story about a young student who approached a guru and asked to be given a mantra. The guru said, "Come back next month." A month later, the student returned, but the guru said once again, "Come back next month." Each time the student returned, he was told to wait one more month. After 12 long years had passed in this way, the guru finally gave him a mantra. Why did the guru make him wait so long? Well, if he got a mantra immediately, the immature student might have assumed that anything obtained so easily must be quite ordinary and of little value. with that attitude, he would have found it more difficult to concentrate on the mantra, in spite of its inherent power or Shakti. The long wait made his dedication grow strong, and when the mantra was finally given, he received it as a precious gift. Having to wait a long time instilled in him a tremendous value for the mantra, and that helped him concentrate on it. This story shows how your attitude towards the mantra determines, in part, how effective it will be as an aid for concentrating your attention. Another example of this principle is seen in a well-known spiritual organization that charges a fee for giving you a mantra. No traditional guru would demand payment for a mantra. So why is this done? One reason might be that the organization is guided by a familiar Western saying, "You get what you pay for." A mantra that's given freely could be considered worthless, but if you have to pay for it, you're likely to consider it more valuable. Charging a fee or making you wait 12 years are methods used to instill in the minds of meditators significant value for the mantras they're given. But most gurus have no need for methods like these. Instead, when they give you a mantra, they also teach you the mantra's true value, the value born of its inherent power. It's Shakti. Traditional mantras possess an inherent power or capacity to attract your attention during meditation. That capacity is the mantra's Shakti, its power. Several factors are responsible for that Shakti. First of all, traditional mantras are drawn from highly revered sacred scriptures. And most of those mantras are short invocations or prayers addressed to various aspects of God. Any form of prayer connects us to a power infinitely greater than ourselves. And that infinite power is invoked when traditional mantras are used for meditation. In modern times, a number of non-traditional mantras have also been used. An American physician named Herbert Benson researched the use of mantra japa in clinical settings. He instructed his test subjects to repeat the word one as a mantra. Another example is the spiritual organization mentioned before that gives mantras they themselves describe as being meaningless syllables. In both cases, a deliberate effort was made to remove any religious elements from the practice of mantra japa to create a purely secular practice. It's certainly possible to concentrate your attention on the word one or on meaningless syllables like shirim or hiring. But those mantras are not prayers. And as a result, they fail to connect you to the infinite power of the divine source of the universe. According to Patanjali, mantras should be meaningful. In the Yoga Sutras, he prescribes that a mantra's meaning should be reflected upon during mantra japa. He says, tad japas, a mantra should be repeated, and tadartha bhavanam, its meaning should be contemplated upon. Traditional mantras have profound meanings, worthy of deep reflection. And knowing the meaning of a mantra will increase your value for it, making it more effective, as we discussed before. On the other hand, Reciting a mantra without knowing its meaning can lead to mindless mechanical repetition, which is a serious problem for the practice of mantra japa. Fortunately, most mantras aren't difficult to understand. Many follow a common pattern. That pattern usually begins with Om, a sound symbol that represents God or absolute reality, as explained before. Many mantras also include the word Namaha, which is generally translated as salutations. Namaha is derived from a Sanskrit root that means to bend or bow. So, Namaha suggests bowing in reverence or with an attitude of surrender. Due to rules of grammar, Namaha often becomes Namo, Namas, or Nama, depending on the word that follows it. The most important word in a traditional mantra is a name for a particular deity, a form or manifestation of God. When that deity's name is joined to the word Namaha, its ending is changed to mean salutations unto that deity. For example, Om Namah Shivaya means salutations unto Shiva. Om Namo Narayanaya means salutations unto Narayana, a name for Vishnu. Any of the thousands of Sanskrit names for various aspects of God can be used in a mantra. Most mantras are quite short. Some have just 3 words, like in the previous examples. Others, including the well-known Gayatri mantra, are longer. Mantras of all lengths are effective, but for beginning meditators, short mantras might be easier to use at first. On the other hand, longer mantras demand more attention, and they can sometimes be more effective in preventing your mind from wandering, even though they're more difficult to learn. Practically speaking, if your mind wanders a lot with a short mantra, try using a longer one. The mantra Om alone is usually not recommended for mantra japa for several reasons, including the fact that it's too short. Your mind can easily lose hold of it and wander away. Some mantras include 1 or more sound symbols, known as seed syllables or bijaksharas. These are syllables like shrim, hrim, and aim. These seed syllables are often associated with particular deities. For example, shrim usually represents Lakshmi, goddess of wealth. Hrim is associated with Parvati, goddess of power. And aim is used for Saraswati, goddess of knowledge. One more observation before we conclude. A mantra has Shakti not just because it's a prayer from a sacred scripture, but also because of the very sounds of its Sanskrit words. Sanskrit is called Deva Bhasha, the language of the gods, and it's believed to be of divine origin. For this reason, Sanskrit mantras are revered as sacred sounds. Even if you don't accept this belief, Sanskrit is indeed an extraordinary language. It's an ancient scriptural language, not derived from any other. It has a precise system of pronunciation, a vast vocabulary, and an unusually sophisticated grammar. All of these qualities make Sanskrit unique among the world's languages and perfectly suited for mantras.